Hi everybody, I'm here with Joni at Ted Schwartz bonsai sale.
My name is Joni Berkowitz, and I worked on this collection with Ted Schwartz for about 15 years. I never really marked down when I started because it was a casual thing. I would come and help him repot, and then Ted was legally blind most of his life, and he got progressively more blind as he got older. He's now 93, and he has dementia. So he doesn't even remember his trees. It's been wonderful that the club has come and celebrated with Ted, celebrated his collection today, and as they were buying it, being impressed with the trees that Ted designed or just bought and maintained for many, many, many years. So Ted was legally blind, and he was Margaret Mead's assistant in New Guinea. He was an anthropologist with an emphasis on language. So he was a fascinating man outside of bonsai as well. But we all knew Ted for his trees. He was known for his California junipers, for his Japanese black pines. He was known for big trees. He loved big trees, massive trees, mostly because he couldn't see the small trees. So he could see the silhouette of the big trees. Ted went to major events, and we always dragged home the largest thing he could possibly buy. I remember one time we went to, I want to say Winter Silhouettes, Baikoen Winter Silhouettes, and the tree that he bought almost wouldn't fit on the bus. And we're like, what are you going to do, Ted? We have to get the tree home. So one of the trees that Ted had, this California juniper that Kenji Miyata also worked on. The tree has fallen over a little bit because the winds the Santa Ana come down this valley so strongly, and I couldn't keep the tree in the pot. It really needs work again, but it is an example of the kind of tree that Ted was attracted to. It has beautiful shari, beautiful jin, and someone will give it new life again. So, Ted loves flowering trees. We're buying this ume and dedicating it to Ted and having it planted in the Japanese and the safari park, the Wild Animal Park Safari Park, the Bonsai Pavilion.
So talking about the pavilion, Ted has several trees that he donated to the pavilion. We're going to talk about those really quick?
Sure, you bet. So Ted had 2 groves that he donated to the pavilion back in his peak. One was a femina grove, femina juniper. I want to say it's a 7-tree grove, but I don't remember exactly. And the other is a bald cypress grove. And I've been told that they're 2 of the more popular trees when people come through the bonsai pavilion. They're massive trees. I remember I hated the femina because it made my arms itch, right? And it was like, they're so stickery. And I loved the bald cypress. That's a beautiful, beautiful grove. So we will supply pictures of those trees so that people can see them. This is an example of one of the trees that Ted, he would buy the California juniper, but he didn't have the artistry to style it. He was completely flummoxed by a tree like this.
How did he see? I mean, as bonsai being a visual art, how did he see this art form then? Like,
that's an interesting question. So a lot of us think of blind as being darkness, right? You think, oh, you're blind, you can't see because everything seems dark. But Ted's problem was a neurological problem, and he saw a veil of color. So he said it's like colors in front of him all the time. So over here, he had a little table and a turntable that's for sale over there, and he would put a tree in front of this panel, and he could see the silhouette of the tree against the contrast. He could see the contrast. even through the colors in his eyes. And that's how he styled trees. So as he got more blind, the trees got bigger. And I would take care of the littler trees that he still had, because he never sold a tree. There was no, trees didn't leave.
And this is what's left of his sale here.
This is what's left of the sale. We started this morning with over 70 major trees. Most of them went in the first couple hours. There was a California juniper grove, and I'll supply you if you like with a picture.
Yes, please. It'd be great.
The span of the trunks was the span of my hand.
Oh, wow.
Three of those, three of them. In a pot, you could take a bath in. It's huge. It got sold. So people really knew that Ted had a good eye for trees. Good eye. That's a misnomer. He had a good instinct for trees. This is one of my favorites of his. This is a tamarisk. This is a natural dead wood. This is the living vein of the tamarisk. The rest is dead wood. And in the spring, this comes out with feathery growth and little purple, tiny little purple flowers. And if you develop it into a tree-like form right here, the problem with tamarisk is it tends to die back. So we'd start again every year. But Ted liked unique trees. He liked eccentric trees. And he was very, very proud of this tree. We took it to many shows. At one time, the greenhouse was full, but termites and water damage. This is where we kept the ficuses, the bougainvillea in the wintertime. We would even hook up a heater and run a heater out here in the wintertime.
How was it in the summertime? Is it comfortable?
It would be comfortable. We'd leave the doors open, and it would be comfortable.
And is any vent?
And it has
the louver vents on it?
louvers.
Okay, so that's how you vent the.
Yeah. It was perfect for the trees. That grove lived in there. The big ficus grove lived in there. But it's just a little dangerous now, and we're afraid it will collapse. So we didn't want anybody in it today.
Awesome.
Yeah. This is another one of my favorites.
What is it? It looks like a what is it? Ume or a prunus.
It is essentially an ume. It is a chokecherry.
Okay.
So ume, of course, meaning stone fruit,
Correct.
right? This is a chokecherry. Now, it's never made fruit, I'm assuming, because it doesn't have another of its species anywhere nearby to cross-pollinate. But it does come out with little tiny flowers, and the living edge is right back here up to the top, and it gets beautiful little white flowers, just like a regular apricot. But it's a chokecherry.
Chokecherries are native to U.S., correct?
I'm not familiar.
Okay, I was wondering.
I just know it's a chokecherry because he told me it's a chokecherry.
Oh no, you know it's a chokecherry. You know
And I knew it was a chokecherry. And I remember when he won this one in a raffle.
What is it?
That is a mulberry.
That's a mulberry?
It's a
It does
mulberry.
not look like a mulberry.
When the leaves come out, it does.
The bark is so smooth. Most mulberries of age have a very craggly, plated type of cambium or bark layer.
Interesting.
And this one's extremely smooth.
It is, but it is a mulberry, and it gets huge leaves, and then it gets the little tiny
The little fruit.
fruits and flowers. And of course, mulberry are known for, that is where the silkworm is cultivated on mulberries. And he won this at Baikoen Winter Silhouettes one
How
time
funny.
at a raffle. Oh, he was so excited. Everybody cheered. So it's having been here 15 years, I know these trees. They're friends of mine, you know, and I know their histories for the most part. And I've repotted them all and styled them all and fought with Ted over which way to put them in the pot. Because one of the things that was interesting about working with Ted was that because he couldn't see very well, he saw in 2 dimensions. he saw almost like a postcard.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't see back branches. He couldn't see the 3D that the rest of us see. And working for him, his decision was the way it would go. And I had to understand that he was styling these trees for his reality, not mine. Whatever he saw as an artist, I had to do. Like Chihuly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Gail, what's his name? Chihuly, anyway. Everybody knows Chihuly. How after he became blinded, I think in one eye, glass blower, he would tell his apprentices what to do. So I styled for Ted's aesthetic. I styled to please Ted because they were his trees ultimately. And he just saw them a different way. And I learned to relax and let Ted do the styling that he wanted to do, what was meaningful to him. Because ultimately, the trees had to please him.
Well, what was the other Ted's other hobbies other than bonsai later in the stage in life?
I don't think he had any.
Oh, so this is really
This was pretty much it. He spent all day, every day out here. When I first started working with him, he could still do a lot of styling, and repotting was hard for him, but he could still do a lot of styling. And he spent a lot of time out here every day, and that's why he could maintain it. When I started with him, he had over 150 trees, probably close to 200 trees. But a lot of he tried and tried with maples, and he could never get maples to live here. Maples and Ted did not work.
And you guys are not too far away from the coast. I thought that'd be,
I think that it's his water. I think the water here is too salty. It has too much dissolved mineral salts in it because their leaves would get brown around the margins. His other problem was that his fingers were so calloused that he couldn't, stick your finger in the soil and see how wet it is before you water it. He couldn't do that. He couldn't sense anything through his fingers. So we had to devise a soil mixture that would let him water pretty much every day, all day. You could run water through that soil mixture and it would never rot. So maples didn't like that. Elms didn't like that.
And I noticed that everything is hand watered. There's no sprinkler system. There's no automatic. So everything was done by hand.
Yes.
Because
he couldn't see the hoses. So if he moved something, if he moved a tree and the hose fell out and we depended on the watering system, it wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have gotten watered because I only came once a week. So this one, I'm trying to remember, he bought it from a doctor, somebody, and everybody knew him, and I don't remember the doctor's name, but
looks like a black pine.
it is a black pine. He was very proud of this one. He called this one the dragon. This is a tanuki right now on it. This shimpaku is a tanuki, but this was a California juniper, and it had foliage down here. And we took it, he wanted it in the show. He wanted it in a San Diego bonsai show. And it was a very difficult tree to take to a show. So hubby and I rented a U-Haul, strapped it, put it on its shelf, its tall stand, strapped it to this U-Haul, took it to the show, rented the U-Haul 2 days later.
Just for the show.
Yes. Rented the U-Haul, a box truck again, brought it home. It killed the tree.
Oh.
So because the tree died, he couldn't abandon the dead wood. So that's when he bought this from Cindy Reed, this shimpaku, and we laid it in there and formed it to go with the dead wood, but it is not the same tree.
So that's a live wood right there. It goes all the way to the back and to the bottom of the
Right.
show.
But he called that the dragon.
Has Ted gone? I see he has a grape over here. Did he collect that tree or?
I do not believe Ted ever dug a tree. that
Oh.
he probably bought it from whoever dug it. So the grape is really interesting. If I have my history correct, and anybody in the club that's been in it longer than I have been can correct me, these trees were collected down in the grapevine. So you know where the grapevine is, where the 5 goes over the mountains, right? They call it the grapevine. They call it the grapevine because it was full of grapevines. And they were originally imported from Italy as seedlings, and they were planted there for the burgeoning California wine market, right? So this is one of those trees. In the about 2005 or earlier, the club was invited to come and dig up these old trees because they were replacing them and they were building other things there. So the club went and dug these old grapes. And this is one of those.
Awesome. You know the variety of grape? You know the variety of the grape this is at least?
What type of grape? Do you know?
I do not.
Just wondering. Most of them are like Zinfandels or actually Zinfandels. Those really survive really well in this harsh climate that we have in Southern Cal here.
Well, I have one at home that of a similar vintage. It makes a small purple grape that with a very thick skin, very small grape with a very thick skin.
Awesome.
It's not a big eating grape. They're a tiny cluster of
Yeah,
purple grapes.
with giant seeds in the middle.
With giant seeds in the middle
I
and a
have-
really bitter skin.
Yes, I have one of those at home too. They're great.
Whatever
So,
that is, that's what this is.
it's a Zinfandel. It's a red Zinfandel. That's what
Okay, yeah, whatever it is. But it's quite an old tree. So this is probably one of the ones that was brought originally from Italy and planted at the grapevine.
Awesome.
So Ted was there for a lot of the history of the Bonsai Club. I don't know what year he started, but it was certainly before 2005 because I started working with him there, and he had trees that were 10 or 15 years, that he'd had 10 or 15 years when I started.
Did you know how Ted ever got into bonsai at all?
I do not.
So
I
some
don't
history
know
that we
that.
missed there, but awesome. You know, Joni, thank you for your time today. I wish we came down earlier, but you know what? This is just craziness. We get a last minute email to come down, but
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm going to purchase something before I leave because I drove down here from LA. So thank you, Joni, for everything. And if you
You're
guys like this video about Ted, like, subscribe, and we'll talk to you guys later. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.